everyone, it's Amanda from Hookemcreations. I know this is slightly different from my normal videos, but I also don't have my microphone on, so I apologize if the audio quality is really bad. I'm just trying to make this as quick as possible while my kids are occupied with their activities. So as I mentioned in the last video, I want to make a puff blanket using my Addy knitting machine, the express one, the 22 pin needle one. And so I am going to be picking out the yarn for this project. Now, this is not all the yarn that I own. I have lots of yarn, but most of my yarn right now, like I've said in the last video, we are getting ready to move. We don't know when it's going to happen. We just know it's going to happen, and I would rather be prepared and that my yarn is stored properly than to let the movers do it. We're a military family, so the military pays for professional movers to come and get our stuff and pack it up and move it to our next location. So most of my yarn, about 80% of my yarn, is already packed up and ready to go. I still have access to the yarn, so if there's something that I need, I can get to it. But the solid color acrylic yarns are still out. All the multicolor yarns, any textured cotton, wool yarns are all stored up in appropriate bins. And so I have my bag down here, and I am going to select some yarn that I think will go well with this scrap blanket, and it's just whatever yarn is on these shelves. I also have yarn downstairs in my office corner, and we'll go from there and see how it goes. And I think in this video I'm also going to test out how I want to do it, so that way I can show the process of making the scrap blanket to you guys in the next video. So let's pick out some yarn. All right, so I know I have a larger bag. All right, we're gonna do this bag from Michael's. So it's a decent sized bag. I'm not going to use the yarn that's skeined up by the manufacturers and stores. I'm going to use the ones that are caked up by me, because that means that they've been used and they need to be used up for sure. So I'm going to try and do as much color as possible, not just the neutrals. I do like a lot of neutrals. But I'm going to try and use up as much color as possible. So let's get to it. All right, I filled up my bag pretty quickly. Depending on how I am going to do this blanket, whether I double layered it or I just do a single layer, I don't know. Don't know just yet. But my bag is already full of yarn that I can use. I probably will number them and then like have Siri say what number to use next or something like that. I don't know. I haven't decided that far yet. I will figure that out eventually. But so far, if I can get it in the shot, this is what I have so far for yarn. And yeah, I think it's a good start, and we'll just go from there and see how it goes. Because, yeah, that's what I have so far. All right, so yesterday was Mother's Day, and I did absolutely nothing last week because some things came up. I was sick and with a husband who is deployed and no one else to really help me out. So basically when you're a military spouse and you're sick, you're pretty much taking care of yourself and everyone else in between and doing what you can. Do the bare minimum on those days and hope for the best. That's literally all you can do when you're sick. And I mean, I was sick on the couch, not moving, sick. And I still had to take care of the kids and the dogs. It was not fun. Do not highly recommend it at all. So, yeah, that was fun. That's why I didn't do anything last week. And then over the weekend, I had an appointment for my son. And then my friend invited us to go to the zoo. So we went to the zoo the next day, and then the following day after that was Mother's Day, which was yesterday. And so we've been outside the last 4 days, hanging out, being with friends, and just relaxing. And I haven't had a relaxing time like that in a very long time. So I'm glad that I took the time off and said, you know what? This week was crap because I was sick and everything. Now, let me take the weekend to just take care of myself and basically heal from the weekend. But now I'm back and I'm just battling seasonal allergies because we've been outside for the last like 4 or 5 days. So, but during that time, I've been able to think about how I want to tackle this project because there are multiple different options. So option A is making each an individual square, stuffing it, and then sewing it. Which, I don't know about y'all, I'm lazy. I like to do as minimal work as possible when it comes to this. So, even though, yeah, that's option A because I've been looking at Pinterest and that's kind of how everyone else did it. Like if they're crocheting or knitting this project, the puff blankets or the honeycomb blankets is what the knitting projects are. I just kind of went, no, not doing it. And then option B is we use the knitting machine, make the tubes, stuff the tubes, and then sew it. And I'm like, okay, that might be an option, but we're just gonna have to test it and play with it. And then I came up with another plan. Option C is we're gonna knit it up, attach the tubes to each other. Okay, so they're laying flat and we're going to attach them together so it becomes this big ginormous blanket. It's already attached. We're going to fill up the tubes and then close up each end. Then we're going to sew across. We're going to do what's called the flat slip stitch seam. I have a video tutorial on how to do that. Actually, I don't. So we're going to use the flat slip stitch seam to sew across so it can get that puffiness. So I don't know. I'm probably going to have to play with it a couple times to see how it goes. But the other question is, do we want to do single or do we want to do double panel? So here's what I mean by single or double panel. So this is a swatch that I made for when I was knitting up the noodle sabers. I needed to know how many rows I needed, so I just knitted up a straight blank. So what I mean by a single panel is just as is. This is a single panel, and you can see once it's stretched, you can see my hand in there. So there's another option to kind of hide it a little bit. And as you can see, you don't see my hand, you won't see the stuffing. It's double. It's thicker. Now the only downside is that it requires more yarn, which, I mean, okay, no big deal. I'm planning on doing like a single crochet border around the edges anyways, so this will be closed shut. So if I do decide to sew up the tops and bottoms, that it will be sewn up. It's not that big of a deal. So I mean, I'm going to try a couple different options and see how it goes, and then I will come back to y'all and tell you A, how it went, B, what options I'm going to go with and what the plan is, and then just go from there and see how it goes. So yeah, let's get knitting. All right, so I just did my first swatch sample, and I think it turned out rather well. I think it depends on the thickness of the yarn. So all I did a single panel. I didn't do a double. I just wanted to see what it would look like with as a single as is. And this is how it came out. This is what it is. See? And it's puffy. It's not super puffy like rock hard. It's still squishy. I'm able to stitch through it. I did a flat slip stitch seam, and then I did a single crochet border. I'm still playing on the border aspect, but I like how the border came out of all of this. And I honestly, like, you can see a little bit of the material, the fiberfill showing up a little bit. Sorry, my allergies are still getting to me, guys, so bear with me. But like, you can't really see it with this green. So I honestly think it depends on the thickness of your yarn. But all in all, it actually does not look that bad. I really like this. Now, the only situation I have now is, how big do I want this blanket to be? Like, how many rows and panels do I want it to be? So from end to end, when everything is said and done, we're looking about, without the single crochet border, we're looking about 6.5 inches by 6 inches. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do some math and figure it out from there. But all in all, I'm actually really happy with it being my first one and not double walling in and all that stuff, and like going back to the drawing board. I will definitely share how to do it more in the progress video than in the tools and what yarn and how, and the test swatching progress. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Be sure to do all the YouTubey things. I'm not gonna go through that whole spiel because y'all know how to do it. But until next time, happy crafting, and I hope you tune in to see how the entire blanket is made. because it'll be an adventure for me too. So I hope to see you all there.